Some of the most terrifying horror movies ever made weren't created from imagination. They were inspired by real crimes, real people, and real exorcisms. And when you strip away the Hollywood effects, the true stories behind these films are often far more disturbing. Tonight, we're uncovering the real events behind famous horror movies and what actually happened. The Exorcist. When The Exorcist was released, many believed it was pure fiction. But the film was inspired by a real 1949 exorcism case involving a boy known as Roland Doe. According to church records, the boy experienced violent outbursts, unexplained scratches, and extreme reactions to religious objects. Multiple priests were involved after doctors failed to explain his condition. Most of the official records were sealed, and the church has never denied that something unexplained took place. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Despite its exaggerated violence, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was inspired by Ed Gein, a real-life murderer. Gein robbed graves and used human remains to create masks and household items. When police entered his home, they described the scene as one of the most disturbing they had ever witnessed. Ironically, the movie was toned down. The real crimes were considered too horrifying to fully show on screen. The Conjuring. The Conjuring is based on the experiences of the Perron family, who claimed their farmhouse was haunted. They reported shadowy figures, voices, and sudden overwhelming fear. The case was investigated by Ed and Lorraine Warren. Decades later, family members still stand by their story. Others question the details. But whatever happened in that house left lasting psychological damage. The Amityville Horror. In 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. murdered his entire family inside the Amityville house. A year later, the Lutz family moved in and claimed the home was haunted. They reported strange noises, violent mood changes, and unexplained events. Later, investigators accused them of exaggerating the story. But the murders were real, and the house became forever linked to one of America's most infamous crimes. The Exorcism of Emily Rose. This film is based on the case of Anneliese Michel, a young woman from Germany. She underwent dozens of exorcisms after doctors failed to diagnose her condition. Anneliese eventually stopped eating and died from malnutrition. Her parents and the priests involved were charged with negligent homicide. Audio recordings of the exorcisms still exist today and are considered deeply disturbing. Annabelle. The Annabelle doll from the movies looks terrifying, but the real Annabelle is actually a Raggedy Ann doll. A nursing student claimed the doll moved on its own and left handwritten notes. Ed and Lorraine Warren later locked the doll inside a glass case in their occult museum. They believed the doll was not possessed, but manipulated by something darker. The doll remains sealed to this day. A Nightmare on Elm Street. This film was inspired by real cases from the late 1970s. Several refugees experienced intense nightmares and refused to sleep. Despite staying awake, some died in their sleep. Doctors could not explain why. The idea that fear itself could kill someone during sleep became the foundation for this terrifying story. The Haunting in Connecticut. The Snedeker family claimed their home was once a funeral parlor. They reported violent hauntings and disturbing apparitions. Later investigations questioned their claims. However, the children insisted their experiences were real. The case remains one of the most debated paranormal stories on record. The Girl Next Door. This film is based on the tragic case of Sylvia Likens. She was abused and tortured by her caregiver while neighbors did nothing. The real events were so horrific that the movie toned them down. It remains one of the most disturbing true crime cases in U.S. history. The Exorcism of Roland Doe. Before The Exorcist, there was the case of Roland Doe. This is one of the most documented exorcisms in history. Priests recorded violent reactions, scratches appearing on his body, and unexplained movements of objects. The case inspired multiple horror films. The files were sealed, and no official explanation was ever given. Knowing the truth behind these movies makes them harder to watch and impossible to forget. Which one disturbed you the most? Subscribe for more true horror stories.